In a small town in France, a crowd is slowly walking out of the cemetery. It turns out all these people used to be dead until now. The locals watch them in shock, not understanding what's happening. The crowd never continues to grow larger by the second, so the town council arranges a meeting to discuss the situation. The mayor reveals that dead people are coming back to life in every country, yet nobody has found an explanation for this phenomenon. It's been estimated that 70 million people have been revived around the whole world. In this little town, the resurrections lasted for a little over 2 hours, ending with almost 13,000 returned that are now wandering through the streets. By checking the cemetery register, the council learns that the revived crowd is formed by people who died in the past 10 years. There are both men and women and people of all ages, but more than 65% of them are over 60 years old. The only thing they all have in common is their health. Their bodies are in a perfect state and any pre-death sickness is gone. To keep such a huge crowd off the streets, the mayor decides to transform the local community center and the warehouses into shelters for the returned. It is important to keep them together in one place so they can identify them and send them back to their families. Since they are Sylvain over, the couple is shocked to see he hasn't aged a day. They're also told he can stay here until they're ready and visit him as often as they want. Later at the mayor's house, he finally reunites with his wife. Martha welcomes him home and comments on little things like him being late or looking tired. She even touches his face, acting as if she never left. Meanwhile, Rachel keeps avoiding the facilities and is creeped out by the return she sees on the streets. At home, she keeps wondering how to deal with this situation. Her husband Mathieu died in a car crash 2 years ago, however she's already grieved him and moved on. Bringing him into her life again could possibly feel like she was regressing. At the shelter dorms, Mathieu won't go to sleep and the nurses have to remind him to do so. Sometime later at work, Isham points out Rachel has been avoiding him, but she just makes up a bunch of excuses while feeling uncomfortable by a returned working at the cafeteria. Isham shares details about his time visiting Sylvain and how happy he is to see him play again as if he was never dead. He also asks Rachel about her husband, but she quickly changes the subject. A few days later the town council holds a new meeting. Sees Sylvain standing in a bush while staring at nothing, which creeps her out. Veronique quickly arrives to retrieve her son and sends him back to playing with other kids in the park. While Veronique watches him, Isham arrives and mentions they should bring Sylvain to live with them already. However, Veronique feels uncomfortable and announces she's going home, saying she's tired as an excuse. Isham brings their dog to play with Sylvain and notices how the animal would bark at the elderly returned. Sometime later the council discusses a new issue. The elderly returned wander off a lot and it's hard to keep them in the facilities or in their homes, no matter if it's night or day. They're not very aware of their surroundings, so a simple walk is dangerous for them. Since they are retired, they don't work either. Experts theorize they may be looking for a familiar place, or it could just be a response caused by the trauma of dying. Studies show that these particular returned are full of energy and are very resistant to infection, probably because their body temperature is lower than a regular human's. To deal with this, Dr. Gardet develops a medicine that helps them sleep better at night and move less during the day. This product is quickly licensed and marketed so every family can access it. Gardet also makes tranquilizer darts with this medicine for the soldiers, explaining it works as mid-sedative only on the returned. A normal human would sleep for 2 days and wake up sick, taking days to recover, so they need to be careful about who they shoot. One night while watching the returned, the soldier tells Gardet that some of them are only pretending to sleep. Suddenly Gardet notices Mathieu dressing up and leaving the facility. The soldier explains that Mathieu does that every night and that he's just going to work. Finding this strange, Gardet decides to follow Mathieu. At the office, Gardet is surprised to find a group of returned having a meeting and chatting normally. The security guard tells him they do this every night. Sometime later Rachel is going home after work and notices Mathieu following her. She doesn't dare to say anything and neither does Mathieu, so they start heading home together in silence. Gardet follows them in secret because he's been studying Mathieu's behavior. At home Rachel still feels uncomfortable by her husband's presence so she immediately hides in her room. Meanwhile the mayor throws a party to reintroduce Martha to the rest of the family. She's happy to see everyone but, while this is being explained, the mayor notices Rachel leave the room. As days pass the elderly returned continue to wander off a lot. Rachel is feeling very comfortable with Mathieu and is even happy to have him in her life again. She thinks she should stop going to the council meetings because the way they talk about the returned bothers her. Now that summer is here, Mathieu hates the heat and is always eager to go swimming. Meanwhile Veronique is watching her son play outside, not looking happy about having the boy live with them again. Suddenly an old returned appears and makes Sylvain's game move too fast, so Isham rushes to stop him. When he looks at his wife, she's hurrying back inside. One night, Rachel hears a noise and leaves the bed to investigate. She finds Gardet outside claiming he only wants to help her cope with the situation and that he knows how she feels. He wonders if she knows that Mathieu sneaks out every night to go to the office, but Rachel says her husband only has trouble falling asleep and he's fine. After kicking Gardet out, Rachel returns to her room and finds Mathieu awake. He asks if she was talking to someone, but she says she wasn't. Sometime later at work, Matthew's boss notices that his report makes no sense. Explosions didn't hurt anyone and a curfew is now in force on the whole country. Nobody knows where the returned have gone and people are told not to go looking for them. Sylvain still wants to leave and Veronique thinks they should free him, but Isham refuses. Getting desperate, Sylvain ends up jumping. Isham cries as he sees the body on the ground, thinking his son is dead again. However, Sylvain is fine and walks off to join the other returned. Determined to fight back, the military prepares grenades filled with a particular chemical that can put the returned in an irreversible coma. Soon they find a group of returned trying to reach the tunnels and start gassing them, making them fall unconscious one by one, including Sylvain. Meanwhile, Mathieu returns home and tells Rachel that the day after the fight, he left work early to talk to her and apologize. However, he didn't find her at home and went looking for her, driving so fast that he ended up in the crash that killed him. Overwhelmed with guilt, Rachel has a breakdown. The moment is interrupted by Gardet breaking into the apartment. Mathieu hears him, so the couple escapes through the window. While hearing the gas explosions in the distance, Rachel follows Mathieu into a tunnel. After wandering for a while, she cries as she kisses him goodbye. Mathieu leaves and Rachel has to go home alone. On her way back, Rachel watches the soldiers take the unconscious returned back to the cemetery. Each body is left on top of their corresponding grave and they slowly disappear.